What if Ahsoka Tano became a Sith Lord? Let's explore the depths of it in this video. Ahsoka keeps her fingers on her lightsaber as she listens to Maul's speech on the fall of the Republic. Oddly enough, Ahsoka feels a sense of understanding in his words. She knows that Maul is a monster who murdered countless innocents and created an army of killers and criminals. But at the same time, he's not wrong about anything he said, especially regarding the Jedi. Recent events have shown her just how far the Jedi had fallen. They might have once been the guardians of peace, but now it seems they are obeying the Senate's whims rather than the people's needs. To have a chance to change that, and to make a difference, is tempting. At this moment, Ahsoka fully understands what her master feels like. The sense of anger and frustration he feels, along with the desire to do more for the people. As Maul extends his hand and offers to work with her, Ahsoka finds herself reaching out and taking it.
Good. Now, we have much to do.
With Ahsoka now turned, Maul orders the remaining Mandalorians to retreat and leave Mandalore. When the clones retake the palace, they find no trace of either. Instead, Maul returns to Dathomir with his remaining troops and explains everything he knows about the Clone Wars, including Palpatine's identity. Ahsoka initially rejects this, but Maul remains adamant, saying the Chancellor will soon reveal himself. Maul wants to be ready for that time, and begins training Ahsoka as his apprentice. The dark energies of the planet flow strongly, pulling her towards the dark side, but also giving her strength. Ahsoka tries to resist the temptation to embrace it. Even without the dark side, she is a natural Force user and can perform feats of the Force that Savage struggled with. Maul notices this reluctance and continues to push her to embrace her feelings. Sith training isn't the only thing Ahsoka does. With Maul's criminal empire, he has assets across the Outer Rim. Ahsoka is placed in charge of some of these holdings. This was meant to train her in using the criminal underworld, but it also allowed her to help people. Ahsoka would use these criminals to remove oppressive rivals, sending supplies through the black market, and trying to gather more information about the war. Unfortunately, the news isn't good, as she soon hears about Palpatine declaring himself Emperor and creating the Galactic Empire, confirming everything Maul has said. The news only gets worse as she learns about Order 66 and the Jedi's extermination. She thinks about her friends and tries to contact them. Though she gets nothing from Anakin, she manages to reach Obi-Wan, who's hiding. Ahsoka asks what's happened to Anakin, but his face darkens.
I'm sorry, Ahsoka. Anakin is gone. He fell to the dark side due to Palpatine's influence, which helped him create the Empire.
No. That can't be true. Anakin would never do something like that.
I wish it wasn't, but I saw it all myself. He murdered children, Ahsoka. Younglings who were begging for his help. He nearly killed me and Padme on Mustafar. I advise that you go into hiding while you have the chance.
Ahsoka quickly shuts off the hologram and collapses to the ground, burying her hands in her face. She begins to sob as images flow through her head of what Obi-Wan described. But this isn't just her imagination. It's images from the Force that show her just how far her master had fallen. When Maul finds her on her ship, he looks almost sympathetic.
Not to say I told you so, but do you now see the threat we face? He turned your noble master into that monster. Now the question is, are you prepared to do whatever it takes to stop him?
Maul leaves her with her thoughts. But hours later, she enters their training ground.
There's nothing left for me in the light. I'm ready to learn the dark side.
When there is a moment of hesitation, she allows those same images of her master brutally murdering her friends to run through her mind, filling her with anger. That rage is not directed towards Anakin, but to Palpatine. In her mind, Palpatine was the one who corrupted Anakin, turning that honorable young man into a monster. She now vows to destroy him, one way or the other. Maul sees this change and encourages that anger. He plays into her frustration with the old Jedi Order and how it has turned its back on people in need because of politics. He ingrains the idea that the only way to stop crime is to become a crime lord and control what happens in the underworld. Slowly but surely, Ahsoka begins to embrace this idea. That training takes several years, but Ahsoka emerges more powerful than ever. With her training complete, Maul not only has an apprentice, but also a partner in his criminal enterprise. The Shadow Collective has long collapsed, with only the Crimson Dawn remaining loyal. Maul decides to change that, and sends Ahsoka to bring the other crime families back into line. Soon reports begin to spread through the galaxy of attacks against the major crime families such as the Black Sun, Pikes, and Hutts. Their supply routes were sabotaged, holdings attacked, and leaders assassinated. After months of terror, Ahsoka would appear before the leaders with a simple demand: join the Shadow Collective, or die. Most quickly agreed to re-enter the fold, rebuilding Maul's empire almost overnight. Under Ahsoka's eye, she begins to impose stricter rules on the crime families, restricting what they do. She outlaws slavery and punishes those who harm innocents, allowing them to only fight with other criminals or the Empire. One of those leaders is Jabba the Hutt, who provides Ahsoka with some information in exchange for gaining extra territory. He would explain how a few years back, he received a report that said Darth Vader had dueled Obi-Wan on Tatooine. Ahsoka looks into the matter, gathering witness testimonies and examining the place herself. One of the most useful witnesses was a woman named Reva Savander, who claimed to have been a former Inquisitor. She reveals that Obi-Wan was attempting to protect the children of Anakin. She learns that one of them is a boy named Luke, who is living with his uncle and aunt on Tatooine, and that his sister is none other than Leia Organa, Princess of Alderaan. With this knowledge, Ahsoka decides to visit the Lars family one day, posing as a traveler. She requests a place to stay for the night and offers to pay them for services. Owen and Beru agree and allow Ahsoka to stay the night. While there, she observes Luke. She senses the power growing within him, which may one day rival his father. When he notices her watching, Ahsoka remarks that he has a future in piloting.
Thank you. I hope to put those skills to real use one day away from this dust ball.
Ahsoka smiles and tells him that she's sure many people are interested in his skills. That power remains untapped, but with the right training, he could become one of the most powerful Force users. As she prepares to leave, another figure meets her on the road. Ahsoka looks to see her old friend and remarks that she thought he was dead.
I could say the same about you, although you seem to have found a fate far worse than death. I sense Maul's influence on you.
Ahsoka, you reek of the dark side.
Ahsoka bristles at the accusation in his voice. This should be a happy occasion to see him. But after years of Sith training, anger and bitterness have become Ahsoka's dominant emotions, especially to a challenge like this.
I'm here because I haven't lost my will to fight. If you're not willing to stand up to the Empire, then I will.
Meanwhile, Obi-Wan is reviled to sense the dark side in his friend. He had seen how it turned the closest to him into monsters, and wouldn't watch it happen again.
And at what cost? You've turned to the dark side just like your master.
I didn't murder children, or place a Sith Lord on the throne.
Not that you've seen, you mean. Do you think that Maul's criminals are interested in a legitimate business? They've invested in slavery, spice trade, and murder. You have no business endangering Luke.
And you don't think I have? Tell me, why do you think that the Hutts haven't sent their tax collectors here?
Oh, how generous of you. But let me be clear. Luke is not going to be some pawn for the Sith. His time will come when he's ready, not when you pull him into your shadow war.
Ahsoka can't bring herself to attack her old friend. She simply departs without another word. Ahsoka will not let this opportunity slip away, and begins to plan how to speed up events. She uses Jabba the Hutt as a middleman to secretly leak Obi-Wan's location to Darth Vader. When the Dark Lord hears this, he immediately departs for Tatooine to confront his old master. Keeping a close eye on the situation, Ahsoka lands with a small army of thugs just as Vader and Obi-Wan begin dueling. The battle is one-sided, as though Obi-Wan is skilled. He is well past his prime, and while the Dark Lord remains strong and powerful, Obi-Wan can only fight defensively as Vader drives him back. Before he can finish him off, Vader is thrown back by a powerful Force push. He turns to find Ahsoka standing there. For a moment, Vader is unable to move.
You're dead.
Ahsoka ignites her lightsabers, a pair of blood-red blades, and smiles.
Rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated, probably by your dead master. Just one of his many lies.
Now that the three of them are together, they can end Palpatine's reign of terror. Ahsoka doesn't offer the chance of redemption to return to the light. Maul's teachings had embedded themselves into her, and she now firmly believes that the Empire could be a force for good, being able to control corruption and more. However, what does need to change is Palpatine. This is an appealing prospect for Vader. Though he doesn't show it, he is happy to see Ahsoka again, and to have a chance to fight by her side once more. Obi-Wan is far from convinced and refuses, but Ahsoka whispers to him, threatening to reveal Luke's identity to Vader. Seeing the seriousness of her threat, and knowing he can't take on both Anakin and Ahsoka alone, he agrees. The three depart Tatooine and plan to meet with Maul, who enacts the second phase of his plan. He begins to send out the Shadow Collective to harass Imperial supply lines, specifically those involving the Death Star, which is nearing completion. This pulls away many Imperial soldiers and allows Vader to schedule a meeting with Palpatine at the station. As the Emperor enters the meeting room with his royal guard, he's surprised to see not just Vader, but Maul as well.
My apprentices. I see you've met.
The door closes behind them, allowing Ahsoka and Obi-Wan to ignite their lightsabers. Not just them.
Well, isn't this a wonderful surprise? So many old friends coming together. A shame this will be our last meeting.
Palpatine's hands shot forward, unleashing a torrent of crackling Force lightning. Ahsoka and Obi-Wan's lightsabers ignited in unison, intercepting the searing bolts. Darth Vader and Maul surge forward, their red blades absorbing and deflecting the energy to engage Palpatine. Their sabers slashed through the air as Palpatine met their assault, his blade clashing with theirs in a deadly dance. Sparks flew as red met crimson, and the Sith Lords were locked in close combat. Ahsoka and Obi-Wan begin dispatching the royal guards, who fall one by one. When the last one falls, they hurry to join the main duel. Vader, Maul, and Palpatine's battle intensifies as Ahsoka and Obi-Wan join the fray, their sabers crisscrossing with attacks that force Palpatine onto the defensive. With a surge of dark energy, Palpatine thrusts his arms outward, a wave of force power radiating from him. Ahsoka, Vader, Maul, and Obi-Wan are thrown back, Palpatine's eyes fixed on Obi-Wan, sensing the turmoil within him. The old master struggles to his feet, raising his weapon defensively. Palpatine begins to feed into those doubts, eating away at the Jedi's resolve as he rushes at him in a flurry of attacks. As Vader begins to rise, he watches the exchange happening and sees Palpatine's weapon flash across Obi-Wan's head. But rather than see his body collapse, an empty robe hits the floor. Vader growls and prepares to rejoin the fight, but Palpatine reaches for a button on his arm and deactivates Vader's life support. The Dark Lord drops to the ground, clutching at his throat while Palpatine slashes across his chest and kicks him aside. No sooner does he fall than Maul leaps over the fallen Sith Lord and attacks Palpatine. He attacks with thunderous fury, throwing lightsaber attacks at blinding speeds until Palpatine unleashes another barrage of Force lightning. Maul tries to block the attack, but is only partially successful as part of the lightning strikes him across the body. While he focuses on Maul, Ahsoka leaps and attacks him from behind, her twin lightsabers spinning in a whirlwind of death. Palpatine stops his lightning to cross his lightsabers. He feels the power radiating off the young Jedi and begins to summon his own power for a massive attack. But Maul leaps up from behind and plunges his lightsaber into Palpatine's back. The Emperor screams, before being abruptly cut off as his body disintegrates, consumed by the very dark energy he wielded. Maul watches the Emperor turn to ash, before smiling.
Well done, my apprentice. You've proven that.
A soft gasp escapes his lips as he feels Ahsoka's lightsaber in his chest. She leans in, speaking directly in his ear.
I haven't forgotten your first lesson either. There are always two. One who wields the power, and the other who desires it.
As Maul collapses on the ground, the Imperial troops begin to enter the meeting room, only to see the collapsed bodies. At once they understand what happened and kneel in submission to Ahsoka. She quickly recalls her Shadow Collective troops, storming the Death Star and removing anyone who doesn't pledge allegiance to her. With that superweapon in the criminal underworld, Ahsoka begins consolidating her rule. Her first course of action is to send a formal invitation for Luke to join the Imperial Academy. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.